The wise men from the east, looking for the newborn Messiah, were disappointed at the indifference of the Jewish leaders in Jerusalem. At Bethlehem, they found the babe in lowly surroundings. No royal guards were near to protect the infant king. None of the world's honored were in attendance. His parents, poor, self-educated peasants, were his only guardians. Even so, when the wise men saw the child, they recognized the presence of divinity and fell down and worshipped him. They gave their hearts to him as their Savior, and then poured out their gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh.
We found him, of lowly estate here, but honored in heaven. Our long search is ended, our mission accomplished. Let us now return to our own land.
And don't forget that we must go back by way of Jerusalem and inform King Herod where Christ the Savior is.
We'll get a night's sleep and start early in the morning. Agreed?
Captain! Any word yet from those men from the east who went to Bethlehem to look for an infant king?
No, Your Majesty. Not a word or a sign of them.
Let me know the instant you hear anything. Captain! Captain!
Yes, Your Majesty.
Why haven't you let me know about those men from the east?
There was nothing to report, Your Majesty.
But it's been days and days, and certainly Captain, get a court scribe immediately.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Long live the king. Long
You were present when those men from the east were here, weren't you?
Yes, Your Majesty.
And when I talked to the priests and rulers, you were present then now, weren't you?
I was, Your Majesty.
Those men from the east have not been here yet.
I know, Your Majesty.
What do you know about this whole affair, or think?
Your Majesty, I am of the opinion that all of them have been rather untruthful about it.
I thought so. Those priests avoided answering questions regarding the newborn king. They knew more than they admitted. And those men from the east, too. They've gone home by another way. I'm sure of it.
So am I, Your Majesty.
But how did they know I was suspicious in the first place? I was very careful to let no one know how I felt about a new king born in Israel.
There can have been but one way, Your Majesty. They were warned.
Warned? By whom?
I can only guess at the answer to that, Your Majesty. But I think my guess would be fairly accurate.
Is there a traitor in my court?
I doubt it, Your Majesty.
Then who did warn them?
Their God, Your Majesty.
Their God?
Israelite history records many, many instances where their God has actually helped and rescued them. Under Moses, their God led Israel's escape from Pharaoh of Egypt. Their God parted the waters of the Red Sea so that they could cross on dry land and elude Pharaoh's pursuing soldiers. At the foot of Mount Sinai, their God...
That's enough. I'll take your word for it. Just tell me one thing. How could their God know what I was intending to do? And how could he, or any god for that matter, warn them?
In the past, Your Majesty, their God has done it in many ways. By dreams, visions, angels, miracles...
Well,
prophets.
I'm not going to let them get away with it. God or no God. I tried to be crafty. That failed, all right? Now I'll use force.
Force succeeds where all else fails,
First,
Your Majesty.
send a swift runner to Bethlehem and find out what became of those men from the east. It's only a few miles, so he should be back here yet today.
Yes, Your Majesty. Long live the king.
What about that runner?
He's back, Your Majesty. Those men from the east left Bethlehem secretly by another route.
Just as I thought. Summon the captain of my guards at once. Captain, take a regiment of your men and go to Bethlehem immediately. You will kill every male child up to the age of 2. None are to escape, or you will lose your life. Understand?
Indeed I do, Your Majesty.
There'll be no babe in Bethlehem that'll grow up to be king on my throne.
Soon the quiet town of Bethlehem was weeping and wailing at the cruel spectacle of every male child under 2 years of age being put to death by Herod's soldiers. In the desert wastes to the south, a quiet scene was taking place.
Is Jesus still asleep, Mary?
Yes.
Perhaps we'd better wait a little before continuing our journey.
Why must we travel by night?
For greater security, my dear. The angel said that Herod would seek to kill little Jesus.
I marvel at the indifference, the cruelty, and the apathy of mankind to Jesus, the Son of God. They are actually rejecting him, not receiving him at all. I wonder what lies ahead for my wonderful, sweet Jesus. How long are we to remain in Egypt?
Until the angel bids us to return to Judea. Thanks to the wise men's gifts of gold and precious ointments that can be sold, we have enough wealth for quite a lengthy stay in Egypt, if necessary.
Little Jesus is the Son of God, yet he has no home. I cannot understand this. Yet, I know God has some reason for it.
It's completely dark now, Mary. We'd better be on our way again.
After a period of time, an angel appeared to Joseph in Egypt.
Arise, Joseph, and take the young child and his mother and go back to the land of Israel, for Herod is dead, he who sought the young child's life.
And Joseph arose and took the young child and his mother and started home to the land of Israel.